Good afternoon. Um, I want to speak for a brief moment on the Israeli attacks in Iranian base inside Syria that happened on last Thursday. Let me say this: it bothers me that this stuff has become normal. Before I go any further, it bothers me that Israel can cross into a country they're not at war with, bomb that country, and Western media pretty much says nothing about it. This reaffirms for me that America is a warmongering country and that the Middle East is just one big free fire zone for most Americans. That it's like they said, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That's how Americans view the Middle East. And that bothers me due to the ramifications of this incident. Um, Israeli Air Force attacked Iranian base inside Syria. In response, Syrian forces fired anti-aircraft missiles of a rather primitive Soviet model, one of which overflew its target and landed some 30 kilometers from Israel's Dimona nuclear reactor. Israel said recently was bolstering its defense around Dimona after such an eventuality. So Iranian General taunted Israel, implying Iran has responsibility for the attack. That doesn't appear to be the case. But the missile landing inside Israel shows that if Iran wanted to attack Dimona, it had the capacity. And despite Israel's best effort, an Iranian missile could hit its target. With that, one of the worst nuclear disasters in the region's history could unfold, one that could not only endanger all of Israel, but many of its neighbors. They said that it's incompetence, that they didn't mean for the missile to be that to land where it landed. Any hit on Dimona will cause calculable damage due to plutonium reactor to the facility. The U.S. could exert control of the scenario by eliminating Israeli leverage. It agreed to lift sanctions in exchange for Iran's return to low levels of uranium enrichment. It's designed a nuclear deal and negotiated the JCPOA. Israel's rejection of this approach will become moot. The problem is Joe Biden is running scared Republican opposition in a nuclear deal with Iran. Besides, he designed the Middle East low priority for his administration. Done with that. I guess it concerns me that happened, and I didn't really hear anything about it in Western media. It's dangerous because if Israel gets involved in a war, America will go along with them. Just like I said before I've said in previous videos about how when the right goes to war, the country goes with them. Like the idea that we would okay, the war will end. Like, no, we're going to follow the Republican Party. I spoke about how when they found out that there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, that I thought the Democrats would hold hearings, people be held to account. No, that didn't happen. What happened actually was Democrats wanted to give body armor and armored vehicles, was discussed. So when the right goes to war, the country goes with them. And in the case we're in, they've went this way for 20 years on the basis of a lie. And I'm concerned that could happen again because most Americans they'll follow. They'll believe it. They'll go along with it. Nothing has changed in 20 years. That's what nothing has changed. I was looking at something earlier talking about declassified documents, and it came to my mind. Not changing the subject. Came to my mind about the amount of nukes that have there have been nuclear accidents. They call them broken arrow events. All right. U.S. military used the term broken arrow to refer to an accident that involved nuclear weapons or nuclear weapon components, but does not create the risk of nuclear war. A broken arrow is different than a nuke flash, which refers to a possible nuclear detonation of a serious incident that may lead to war. Now, just looking through this, it came to my mind. There have been a lot of these events. And I think that if people back in the day knew the danger, I'm not sure you'd have had that gung-ho oh, we gotta have the nuke for the Soviets. Like, there was a nuke that dropped in Goldsboro, not far from where I live. It's 2 nukes because a plane crashed. Yeah. And they haven't recovered one of them. There was a thing in Arkansas, not far from where my friend lives at, forgot the name of the base, where a dude dropped a fucking wrench and they almost had a meltdown. Yeah, that shit happened back in the day. And the fact that most people don't know that even to this day, it's concerning. And with the weapons we have now, with the rhetoric, the Trump has established a kind of a right wing era now, not just in America, but you've had India and other countries. You have this influx of right wing leaders now, which in the world is more militarized, way more militarized than was before Trump. At Kirkland Air Force Base, 1957, B-52 crash in Goldsboro, North Carolina. Bam. I ain't crazy. I ain't got the best memory, but I ain't crazy. B-52 crash, Goldsboro, North Carolina, 1961. Bomber carrying 2 Mark 39 nuclear weapons crashed in Goldsboro. Part of a strategic air command mission designed to keep a significant amount of bombers in the air at all times. They said it was leaking fuel from its right wing. I'm not going to read all of it. Just going to make the point that most of it was recovered. Some remains still. Radiation has been detected. Unlike the first one, the second one's parachute opened, indicating that the arming sequence was initiated. Eventually, the bomb's parachute got stuck on a tree, leaving the weapon mostly intact. Most Americans don't even know that. That isn't even a value. People aren't even taught that in school. How close we came. This is what I'm talking about. When you engage in this type of a militaristic attitude, you have accidents, and those accidents can get people killed. I guess it bothers me to be 31 and just realize that the world hasn't really changed, that we haven't progressed, that we're no better than the people that were in the 60s. The weapons have changed, the technology has changed, but the people haven't changed. There isn't an understanding that when you say America first, when you engage in this type of military talk, you're hanging a sword of Damocles over your head that by error or accident or madness, it will kill you, will destroy you, will destroy everything you know and love. Let me just say this. Secretary Robert McNamara reported, this is the Goldsboro accident. By the slightest margin of chance, literally the failure of 2 wires to cross, a nuclear explosion was averted. One simple dynamo technology, low voltage switch, stood between the U.S. and a major catastrophe. And most Americans don't even know that. It would be like people not knowing about slavery. You know what I mean? It would be like it'd be like that. It's like, do you not know what I felt for a very long time that America's moving towards a multi-front war. And that's what Russia, that's what other nations. Max Blumenthal made a really great interview talking about this very issue, where he basically was saying that what Trump did was kind of unite Iran, unite Russia under having a similar threat. This arrogant, belligerent, chauvinistic threat of the United States government. Putting tariffs on Europe, the Nord Stream deal between Germany and Russia, where they're sending military units down there to harass the construction. I mean, this is what America is. We're the bad guys. America's the bad guys. This is what we do, and it concerns me that these aren't even events. These aren't even issues It's not even like, do you agree, disagree? No one's even talking about this stuff. If that missile, that bomb had hit that nuclear reactor in Israel, we'd fucking be at war right now. And most Americans don't even know about this stuff. It's like in the movies, secret agents are like, I'm gonna assassinate this person and it averts war. Most Americans won't even know about it. This isn't even that. You had sirens going off. Like, we came close to fucking war this last week, and no one even cares. It's almost like we need to have war every so often. I realize it's almost like Americans need to get ass whooping to like remind them, oh, war is bad. Damn. Oh, war is a bad thing. Like, it's almost like that. The fact that we have Google, we got all these ways of following news, but how can I explain it to you? You've got this stuff, but it doesn't make you any smarter, it makes you dumber. We came very fucking close. Very, and if we had, America would have marched right up in there and got us to another war. Another 20-year long war. That's why I hope Israel doesn't do something stupid. But if they do, we're going to follow them right in there. And the Christians are going to sit up here and they're going to tell us that Israel, they're God's children. And if you don't 110% support Israel, then you're with the devil. And yeah. See, that's why conservatism, to me, I can't even really look at that stuff, because if you're a conservative, then why are you funding Israel? Because you're not. See, what's happened over the years is they've bastardized, they've twisted it. It's kind of like cancel culture on the left. It's like cancel culture. Anybody say anything we don't like, we're gonna cancel them. It's like that. Well, that's how the whole like dominionist Christian right wing stuff is. It's not really about less taxes. It's not really about less government. That's not really what the right wing is today. It's about dominionism. But the idea that white people are supposed to rule, and they're supposed to be at the center of everything, and that they have certain religious beliefs that go into their politics, and that their job is suppress the people they don't like, the blacks, the gays, the Mexicans. It's not really conservatism, though. The way I understand it, that's not conservatism. Is about not getting into wars, and it's about wanting to have less taxes. And I mean, the gun stuff, that's it, but that's about the only thing they got. We're gonna get into a major war at some point, and I don't think Americans know what that will even look like. I think 80 Marines dying in a week in Fallujah is nothing. That's nothing. That's a drop in the bucket. That's a glass of water on a house fire. That's nothing. And I don't think most Americans have the stomach for it. I really don't. Like I said, we're going down a dangerous path, and I didn't realize to this week that there's no stopping this. If you can't look at that bomb coming within 30 kilometers of a nuclear reactor, and it doesn't scare you a little bit, I don't know what will. That's like somebody trying to rob you and shooting at you, and they hit your car and you don't get hit. That doesn't frighten you a little bit. You should probably get your head checked out. These are gut check moments, and we're missing them. We're missing them bad. I don't hope for Israel to be hurt. I mean, I recognize that Iran's been a rock and a hard place. If Iran works with America and gives it nuclear stuff, they'll be invaded. That's what America does. If you cooperate with the West, you get invaded. That's what happened to Gaddafi. That's what I learned. There's no cooperating with America. You cooperate with America, you get invaded. They take your shit. And even if Biden was legit and he didn't do that, if they just get down and just see, same thing with Trump. Trump pulled out of the JCPOA. Let's break it down. Let's talk about it. He pulled out of JCPOA, breaking the Iran deal. Well, the Iran deal wasn't between Iran and America. It's between Iran and the world. See, this is what happens when you get your news from other than Fox News. This is the real news here. That was the deal with Europe, China, and other countries, Russia and other countries. They kept working with Iran, even after Trump left. Trump broke America's word. Wasn't the first, won't be the last. Then Pompeo came back like a year later to UN and told the other nations to use a snapback on Iran. How do you do that? How do you sanction a country that you put out of a deal with them over a year ago? And then you come back and tell other people, well, you should punish them too. That's America. This is the mindset of Americans. This is literally it. Let's think about the arrogance there. Think about the chutzpah of doing something like that. You pull out, I'm gonna stop paying my rent, and I'm like, well, I'm just gonna stop paying. Like, you have a deal, a contract. So they did that. Now Biden wants them to come back into the deal, but instead of just going back to where it was, he wants to put more stuff on them. And understand something too. Obama didn't hold his word either. That even after they made it, he was still breaking his word, if I remember correctly. So Iran, they're trying to be somewhat legitimate. But if they give everything from America, you have revolutionary elements within their society that could wage a coup. You see, you've got to be legitimate to society, but you also got to hold your hardliners in check too. Every nation's got hardliners. Every nation. America got hardliners. John Bolton, anybody? Anybody remember John Bolton? Every nation's got racists that get up in the high places. And every nation got the hardliners. And they're dangerous. Especially in a fundamentalist country like Iran. I said every day can be very dangerous. I just think that it concerns me. It definitely bothers me that we go down this path and no one really cares. And no one really gets it. Thanks for listening.